Tennessee's offense didn't have their most explosive day versus Oklahoma, but they won 25-15 on the road with Nico Iamaleava finding Dante Johnson Jr. for the 66-yard score to go up 10-3 in the first quarter, and they really never looked back after that. And with that, time now for our on-site recap of Tennessee and Oklahoma, built by Home Depot, how doers get more done, as we welcome in host of the Josh Pate College Football Show, Josh Pate, and CBS Sports college football writer, Dennis Dodd. And gentlemen, everybody talks about Nico, Josh Heupel, right, the high-powered offense. But as we talked about before, this Tennessee defense is elite on defense. They smacked Oklahoma in the face, gave them a rude awakening in the SEC for their introduction. What stood out to you the most, Josh, about how physical they were against the Sooners on the road?
That it matched up everything Josh Heupel has been trying to tell people about this team. Sometimes that's coach speak, Dennis. Sometimes when the offense gets all the accolades, you kind of want to push some of the loving, so to speak, across the table to the defensive staff. That's not the case here. I was in Knoxville for a couple of days this spring, sat down with Heupel, and everyone knows them for their offense. But they were so effusive in talking about defense, and it wasn't just lip service. Like, you could clearly tell that was the first thing out of everyone's mouth, his mouth and everyone around the building. And so, Chris, it's not a surprise to them. I think it may be a surprise to the rest of the country. And Dennis, I think if we would have said in the preseason, Tennessee, good to great defensively, there would have been skeptics, okay? Now, you've done it to NC State, which is a very bad football team, and you've done it to a quarterbackless Oklahoma, so it's impressive. But if you were a doubter, you may still be a doubter. They may still need to do more.
Yeah, this was a nice road win in the SEC. If you just boil it down, they needed every one of those turnovers, which they caused. Yep. That defense caused, and they are a force to be reckoned with. But they've got James Pierce off the edge. He looks like he'd be an All-America this year. Tim Banks, I love, as the coordinator. He fits in every game they go to. 2 years ago, in the Alabama game, he decided to blitz every down because that was the only way you're going to stop Bryce Young, and it worked in overtime. But it worked. Really smart. They've recruited well. This is a team built, frankly, to win the SEC.
So going off of that, Dennis, how confident are you that they can hang with the Alabamas and the Georgias? Because right now, even though their offense didn't have their most explosive day, Dylan Sampson ran the ball really well. What are your expectations that they can be the #1 team in the SEC when it's all said and done?
I think just tonight, I think if you go on the road with this defense, I think Nico's going to get better. Obviously, the 3 opponents before this, it was hard to judge because it just wasn't, the competition just wasn't up to snuff. But when he ripped that 66-yarder on a line to that receiver to go up for the first touchdown, or their second touchdown, that was incredible. I think we'll see more of that as we go on. This was a very good defense. He couldn't get going against it. Dylan Sampson is a very slippery guy, not spectacular. Again, on their second touchdown after the Jackson Arnold second fumble, they ran him 8 straight times, 8 times, 46 yards, end zone. It's not pretty sometimes. And I think Nico's going to get more spectacular and better. He wasn't tonight. But they're built to compete. Let's put it that way, compete for the SEC.
I'm just going to put it to you bluntly. 2 years ago, they started off hot. Georgia knew they had the manpower Tennessee didn't. And so even after that Alabama upset 2 years ago, you talked to folks in the Georgia program off the record, they almost put their hands together and rubbed it and said, there is no way, unless we hand them a game physically, that they can hang with us. So 2 years later, we just showed you the schedule coming up. You got Alabama at home, and then you're going to go to Georgia later in the year. And those are 2 top 5 teams. But the difference here, Dennis, is come what may in those games, I don't think you're going to see Tennessee get outclassed physically by Alabama, nor are they going to be outclassed by Georgia. And that second thing's really important because Bama's had a prolific offense in years past that could hang with you. What was it, 52-49 in that game? But they kind of got suffocated by Georgia. I cannot wait to see how the lessons learned a couple of years ago and how the acquiring and developing of talent that stemmed from that lesson learned a couple of years ago pays dividends down the road for them.
And don't forget that Dylan Sampson drive I talked about, the 8 straight carries. They were already down a left tackle who was out. The right tackle, I think, was injured on that series. They were missing 2 starters in the offensive line and bludgeoned Oklahoma on that drive that made it 19-3.
Right, so they weren't even at full strength, so just imagine what they're going to do when they have everybody on their team. Now, when it comes to Oklahoma, guys, Jackson Arnold played so badly that he was benched, and that's a byproduct, right, of how great Tennessee's defense is. If you're a Sooners fan, Josh, what's your level of concern with this team going forward? Do you feel like you have some hope, especially with Hawkins, the way he played in that second half?
I can tell you, first off, my answer is no. But secondly, I don't want to be that negative. I will say, Dennis, when they scored a garbage time touchdown and he had to flip about 5 times propeller style to get in the end zone, there was a very surprisingly loud cheer from the crowd. And I think that was what Chris is talking about there. That was a hopeful cheer. That is, we know we're done in this one, we're buried in this one, but it's still week 4. It's still just the conference opener. We got games like Texas coming up. Bama comes in here way later in the year, so we found out who's not the guy. You were in Brent Venables' post-game press conference. He was very blunt about that. Maybe we're finding out who is the guy, because as we talked about there now, this is not a 49-15 blowout. It's a 25-15 game where they held Tennessee, who's going to hang half 100 on several opponents this year, to a quarter of that, and they held them to 345 yards, and they forced a couple of turnovers. So you got a defense that wanted to win this game for you tonight. Man, it is a gut punch, but it's a prideful program. We'll see. I talked to some Oklahoma folks on the field after the game, and they said, now you see why some people in this program wanted that kid to win the job in spring. And it didn't happen. And so Dylan Gabriel was here last year. Well, he's off playing at Oregon now. It was going to be Jackson Arnold's show, and turnovers never stopped being an issue last year, but this spring and now this season so far. You were telling me some of the stats about points off turnovers is insane.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold, 5th career start, 9 turnovers, 6 picks, 3 fumbles, and the opposition has gotten 37 points off those turnovers. You never want that. I just got back from Brent Venables' post-game. We didn't have to even wait to ask him. He said flat out, we're going to have a competition. We're going to see how it opens up, who wants this job. And he was really down on them. I think down on himself.
Yeah.
That, like, in a league of quarterbacks, there's pretty a lot of good quarterbacks in the SEC this year. You might want to figure that piece out. And again, you thought you had the guy. In the bowl game, Jackson Arnold had 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, looked really, really good. They lost to Arizona. But coming into this thing, he just looked like he's ready for this level.
That's the gut punch, Chris, is they thought they had it figured out. It's one thing if you're Auburn and Hugh Freeze. They knew going into the season, no matter what they say, we don't have an SEC winner on our roster. This was the former Elite 11 MVP.
Yeah.
Like, this is the guy a couple of years ago we watched out in Southern California, among the best of the best in high school, and he commits to Oklahoma, and that's what the entire hype and hope bubble has been inflated due to around here is we know Jackson Arnold's time is coming. Well, Dylan Gabriel leaves for Oregon. That's okay. It was Jackson's team anyway, and it is just resounding, like, gut-crushing disappointment because it's not what they thought it was going to be.
And look, there's no patience for 5-star freshmen. There's especially not any patience for guys that can't play.
Yeah.
Now, he might be a superstar, but right now he's got to figure out the turnovers. One thing that Brent Venables talked about on that second turnover where it was, kind of behind the line lateral pass. Number one, that was an RPO that was supposed to be a run. That was supposed to be handed off a bad read. And number two, he threw halfway across the field, 28 yards behind the line of scrimmage. He said, we don't run any RPOs behind the line of scrimmage. That's about the worst turnover I can think of having seen lately. So they got to figure that out.
Yeah, they have a lot to figure out, and I think, to your point, it hurts even more because that defense is as good as advertised, right? But when you don't have a QB, it really hurts your chances to be successful, especially in the SEC. Dennis Dodd, Josh Pate, we appreciate the insight as always, guys. And make sure to check out Josh Pate's college football show Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern, live on YouTube. You don't want to miss any of his coverage. Inside, he will get you prepared for each week in college football. Very comprehensive analysis.